Hello and welcome to the Non-Aggression Podcast. This is a show produced entirely by North American students who love liberty. My name is Asher Bookestein, and today I'm joined by Marcella, and we have a special guest, POK Tran.
I don't know how special I am.
All of our guests are special, but you are special for this particular topic that we're going to talk about today. So, really excited. You guys can introduce yourselves in just a second. But for those of you who don't know what this podcast is, if you're here for the first time, we are associated with Students for Liberty, which is a worldwide organization giving young adults the tools to fight for peace, limited government, free speech, and free markets. In this podcast, we're going to talk about what's going on in the liberty movement. We're going to discuss some weekly headlines in North America. We might even deep dive some videos if we have any, and we're just going to generally have a good time. So yeah, would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hi guys, I'm Marcela Mondelli. I'm a student here in Florida. I'm a local coordinator of Students for Liberty in Miami, but I'm originally from Brazil, so that's what I talk about a lot in the podcast.
Awesome. And Pio, we're really glad to have you. Pio is a undergraduate at the undergraduate at the University of British Columbia, and you are also a research assistant for the Aristotle Foundation. Is that right?
That's right. And just before we get started, I want to clarify that none of the views that I express on this podcast are necessarily the views of the Aristotle Foundation, which is a think tank we have up in Canada.
Yeah. That totally understandable. So we have a lot of, we have some pretty interesting headlines to talk about. But because it looks like you're not going to be able to be with us for the full time, I thought we could take advantage of this situation and just kind of hear from a philosophy expert, just kind of your take on what's going on with political philosophy in North America right now, Pio.
What's going on with political philosophy in general?
It's very broad, I know, but I'm sure there's some topics you'd be interested to talk about. Anything? I know that's maybe too broad. Is there anything more specific you'd like to narrow it down to?
Let's talk about the right, because to me like the left has been progressing steadily in one direction, but they still broadly have the same themes and desires as they would have 50 years ago.
For the most part, I would say the left is splitting right now a little bit, but that's a little off topic.
Sure.
Yeah.
But for me, I think that especially on the North American continent, but generally speaking in the English speaking world, there has been a movement for the last, I don't know, I would say 50 years, away from the traditional English style conservatism that we saw in England, and towards the ultimate boogeyman of politics, which is right wing populism, and so we see that especially of course in this ultimate evil villain figure of Donald Trump as the ultimate symbol of right wing populism, but also in less prominent figures like Polyev in Canada, or Bolsonaro in Brazil, or even Farage in England. So
yeah, can I just ask you specifically what you mean by populism, just because that's kind of like a lot of people have different definitions. So when you talk about populism, what do you mean specifically? Are you just talking about someone who's popular, or?
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, populism is not a very well defined. It's not a very well defined. It's not even an ideology. It's more of an approach to politics, right? And so when I say populism, what I'm referring to is what Aristotle would call like demagoguery, like this very mass appeal to as many people as possible by especially by framing some elite as the enemy that is lording it over the people, and we the common people which includes the politician, right? The career politician must fight back against this, supposed elite. And I think that's
whether they're already in the elite or not, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of
well,
the
yeah,
irony.
right. It's like Trump's
Yeah.
been like a billionaire for like 20 years or something, 20, 30
Yeah.
years or something like that, right? And but he's still a populist. He's still a he's a class traitor. He's fighting for the working class apparently. So that's what I would call populism. I mean, even though it's loose and very fuzzy.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar. Would you consider Lula a populist, Marcella?
Yeah, I would say you can have good aspects of populism and mostly bad aspects. But the bad thing is that, for example, Lula is a big populist because he promised a lot of free stuff, and ends up not giving it. So, but he gets the votes, but not give the free stuff. Or even he gives the free stuff, but messes up with the economy. And there's also a good type of populism that you are going to appeal for the masses. For example, I'm gonna cut taxes, and then people vote for you because you say you're gonna cut taxes, and then you end up doing it. So that's a good aspect of populism. You can be a little good in that, but of course, if you're just promising free stuff to get votes, that's a bad thing. That's what Lula does. He's a big populist.
Yeah. Thank you. That's very informative. So kind of you see is what you're saying, Pio, is you kind of see this movement where are you saying the right was less populist and now it's becoming more populist? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, well, I would say like in the West we have in the English speaking world anyways, we have this tradition of right-wing politics, and it comes back all the way to like Edmund Burke, right? And the old style of conservative politics was it was a cautious attitude.
Yes,
It was
the definition of conservatism.
Right. Well,
yeah,
well, it was defined
pretty
by very slow changes.
Yes.
Right? Like we're not necessarily like a non-openness to change, but like incrementalism is what they would call it, right? And so I like what I see now on the right is like almost like complete rejection of that. Like nobody thinks about incrementalism anymore. Nobody says the right way to do. Nobody thinks about Chesterton's fence anymore, right? So when we see Trump saying, well, let's do raids on Catholic churches during mass, ICE raids on Catholic churches and send the Mexicans back. It's like, well, hold on a second here. It's like this is it's been the status quo, right? The status quo in America is that there are a lot of let's say undocumented people who live in America's borders, and for the last 20 years or so, like people haven't it hasn't really been an issue, right? Like that's the status quo, and like the fact that they're embracing such a quick and such a quick and substantial change is representative to me how much the conservative movement on this continent has changed.
Yeah, and you would say that's true of the right in Canada as well, not just the U.S. Is that there's a little bit more this feeling of let's move fast and break things if that's what the people want.
Less so
than the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is, sorry, do you guys hear music in the background?
I think you're good.
Okay. Less so because although people tend to in Canada, we tend to pretend that we're this progressive utopia or whatever, and like the right wing politics don't even exist. But I would say like up until the election of Poilievre to the leadership of the Conservative Party, like Canada hasn't been as populist, but with Poilievre, that's definitely been growing.
Yeah, and I just kind of wanted to throw in the liberty kind of perspective on that, and we have different perspectives on this, but generally The liberty perspective would be, we don't necessarily like the status quo, because if the status quo is big government, but personally, I would kind of favor the incrementalism approach to government, in the sense of, I think the founding fathers in the Constitution wanted it to be hard to make big changes, because if you make changes too quickly, you can kind of do bad things before the public has time to react and respond. And so if we kind of slow down the pace at which laws can be passed, at which change can be made in the government, you can kind of slow the effect of government overreach. And I think that was very successful for a pretty long time. It was kind of hard to make new big changes. But if you don't care about the Constitution, if you don't care about the Bill of Rights, and I would say that's kind of a trend where I think a lot of people, even just regular people, don't even like the Constitution, because it doesn't let them do the things that they want to do very quickly. And yeah, I don't know if you have thoughts on that, but I guess in that perspective, I would call myself more of a conservative when it comes to, we got to take our time with new things, in the sense of increasing government power. We got to be very sure that this is a good thing. We got to be,
Right.
It's got to be crystal clear that you have a good reason for increasing government power, in my opinion.
Well, I think it was Chesterton that said traditions are solutions to problems whose effects that we have forgotten, right? So it's the same thing with the Constitution, like the safeguards that the Constitution, that your guys' Constitution. I mean, a lot of you certainly just treat it as like a sacred text, which is,
I kind of do. Yeah, it's not perfect, but
which is a little bit strange coming from a country that does not really have a constitution. I mean, it's
well, especially the Declaration of Independence. I don't know. Do you have anything similar to the Declaration of Independence? That was something that I even more like respect as like one of the greatest documents of all time. Constitution's also very good, but
the thing is, Canada's constitution is extremely ill-defined, and nobody knows exactly which documents are in the constitution, which documents are not. So
how does that even happen?
Well, the thing is, like, we didn't rebel against the British, right? So we had like increasing degrees of independence from the British from 1867, which is when the provinces of Canada were confederated, to I think it was 69, sometime in the 60s, when Pierre Elliott Trudeau and the British Crown signed a new agreement, wherein Canada was given total judicial independence and this sort of thing. So for basically 100 years, we had like this quasi state. So we don't have.
But you have. So okay. But you don't have. Do you have a document that says like? Is there no? I don't understand. Is there no law above the other laws, or is it just like how? Like what is the structure of your parliament and government come from?
So, okay. Well, the thing is, there are acts that we know are certainly in the Constitution.
Okay.
But there are also acts that are ambiguous. Like, so nobody.
That's weird.
Like, not even the Supreme Court knows which laws are considered to be in the Constitution. So some laws have like very specific, like, for example, like in order to abolish the monarchy, right, you have to have passed that law in the federal parliament, but also in every single one of the provincial and territorial legislatures, right? So it's never going to happen, but like, so there are many of these like different clauses, right? So like for bilingualism, it's like a different requirement, or for freedom of speech rights, it's like a different requirement to amend it. So it's all very complicated,
very
and
confusing.
nobody really knows how it works. This is a stupid tangent, but like
no, for sure. Before I throw that over to Marcella, I just want to add the closest thing we do sort of have that is the Supreme Court rulings, which are basically sort of treated like more of the Constitution, where like if you want to, like, comes to constitutional law, you not only have to know the Constitution, but also the Supreme Court rulings and their decisions on the Constitution. And so you kind of have the precedent for like the past. And so sometimes there's like different precedents and you got to pick which precedent you like. So that would be the closest thing we have to like the Constitution. But there is
that's
like
how common law works.
That's how common law works. So I'm saying we sort of, but at the same time, it's still like very obvious. Like, this is the document. You like, yeah, I don't know. What do you? Is there any? What do you say about that, Marcel?
Well, I was thinking, do you think that causes more political instability, or is actually good to have something flexible that you can work with, depending on the case? It's better for the Supreme Court to rule. What would you say?
If like the ambiguous like constitution like is bad for stability.
Yeah, if it causes more instability, or is actually good to have something more flexible.
Well, the thing with the Canadian Constitution as well is that there's a clause in the Constitution that says the government can actually break any of these laws actually whenever it wants, as long as it reviews the law every year.
That's crazy.
It's called the notwithstanding clause. So
that's crazy. We see our politicians do break the law, but at least it's not in the law that says they can break the law. If that makes any sense.
No, this was like a compromise, right? That Pierre Elliott Trudeau made, and the idea was that in Canada we don't want to have a like judiciary supremacy. We want legislative supremacy, right? Mm-hmm. So in the States, everything is, the highest the deciding factor of whether or not something is constitutional is the Supreme Court, right? But in Canada, we don't, like, our Supreme Court is like basically irrelevant. Well, I wouldn't say that, but it's like it's not like some ethereal governing body that sits above the entire government in Canada, right? Because of this thing in the Constitution called the notwithstanding clause, right? So basically anything is constitutional as long as the government goes back and looks at it every year.
Okay. Well, anyway, I don't want to cut you off, but I know you have to go soon. Are there any other aspects you'd like to talk about while you're here? I know that's kind of broad. Maybe to narrow that down a little bit, when it comes to the philosophies of the right and the left, I know that's still pretty broad, but like, how would you summarize what the philosophy of maybe the new left or the new right would be? Do you think you'd have some insight on that? Is it too hard? Too broad?
I think. Okay, I think it. That's definitely okay. Here, I'll tell you what I think. Okay. So the zeitgeist right now is that there's a. Let me see if I can find a coin. The zeitgeist right now is that on one side of the coin, here I have a dime, Canadian dime. On one side of the coin is Marx, right? So there's the on the left, it's Marx, right? That's Karl like Marx. The ultimate political philosophy symbol for the left. Like that's their zeitgeist. But on the right, it's not Locke, it's not Burke. It's John Stuart Mill, right? And that's an idea that I'm stealing a little bit from my
You're saying
my boss,
it is that is the other side of the coin.
Mill. Yes,
okay,
it's John Stuart Mill. Right?
For the people who are not familiar, what's the most famous work by John Stuart Mill? Maybe
probably On Liberty.
On Liberty. Okay, yeah, I've heard the name. Okay. Anyway, keep going. So
John Stuart Mill basically sees liberty as license to do whatever one pleases, right? And but for him actually it's only for the civilized people. He had no problem with going to India and oppressing all these these backwards barbarians in his view. But
so kind of like a freedom for me but not for thee kind of thing.
Right. Sure. Yeah. But more important is his view of liberty, which is just like a license to do whatever one pleases, right? Which is a far departure from what political philosophers thought in the past, right? But that's to me my evaluation of the.
But I just also want to say, I think there's also a lot more people on the left who've read Marx than people on the right who've read John Stuart Mill. Would you agree with that? Just like
Yes, but it's just like there are a lot of people more people in China who've read Mao than Confucius or whatever. But
sure,
Confucius is
sure,
still the ultimate
yeah.
like cultural. He's like it's like John Stuart Mill's ghost has been haunting the right, the political right, for the
Mm.
like the for the last 50 years or so.
Yeah, and I think so. I'm not saying you're wrong because the philosophy does kind of come back to it, but I feel like I see a little bit more. There's kind of these popular right figures who kind of define generations. So for a time, it was Abraham Lincoln, and kind of that was what the Republican was. Then that kind of went a long time without any super big. Then it was Theodore Roosevelt. Then you wait a little bit. Then it's probably the next one be, I don't know, Reagan, and then went for a little bit while. Now it's Trump. I kind of see that as
Probably
instead of reading
Nixon first.
philosophy. Oh, Nixon. Yeah, that's true. I just mean like really big that like defined the party. I don't.
Sure.
Maybe Nixon did define the party as one person, but I mean didn't leave a super great legacy. I feel like I see when I look at the history of kind of the political thought specifically on the right, I see it as defined by big personalities. Not quite. I mean, the left has had big personalities, but maybe haven't defined the party in the same way. Do you agree with that, or maybe not so much? Specifically the U.S. Okay, those were all U.S. presidents.
Specifically the U.S.
Because I see so many Republicans change their minds on things that were different policies like 8 years ago, but now Trump says it's a thing, and they just Trump is always right, No.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you, and I think that has a lot to do with just the demographic makeup of the right, and
Sure.
on this continent it tends to be that people who are on the right tend to be less educated, right? That's not an opinion, that's just like an objective fact.
Doesn't
right?
necessarily mean they're wrong, but yes,
Right.
that's a trend. Yes,
Right. Yeah. So
doesn't mean they're right, correct either. Just less educated
Right.
is a fact.
So those people I would say, are less likely to have like a coherent political philosophy or worldview that is based off of like reading economic studies or considering this and that philosophy, right? And they're I would say people who are not into that sort of thing are more susceptible to following a great personality and just accepting whatever that person says. So I think that's definitely what characterizes it. But I will have to depart.
All right, thank you so much. I knew that time was coming. Really appreciated having you on, P.O. Tran. Thank you for sharing your insights on philosophy. And we hope to maybe have you on again at some point. Really
Okay,
appreciate
thank you so much, Asher and Marcel. I hope I didn't take too much of the spotlight, but you guys will have
No, we
40 minutes,
reserved
right?
some time for you. So,
Okay.
All right. See ya.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Well, this opens some time up. So now we can talk a little bit more about the news, specifically tariffs. Because there's been some new developments in the world of tariffs, and I think a little bit, or I think there's a little bit you'd like to share about that, Marcella, specifically in relation to Brazil or just worldwide. I don't know. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it's a big geopolitical game. What's happening with tariffs? Trump is imposing tariffs on all BRICS members.
Do you know what that stands for? Oh, Debo's here. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Should be coming on any second now. I see his name. But yeah, for those who are not familiar, do you know what BRICS stands for? I can look it up.
Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa. Let me see. Brazil,
Okay.
Russia,
Hi, Debo.
South Africa.
Good to have you.
Hey, everyone.
So we just were talking with with our guest Pio on some of his insights on philosophy, but now we're finally starting to get into news, and Marcel is telling us a little bit about the new tariffs and how they're affecting which countries?
All the members of BRICS.
Okay.
So Okay, let me stand again. So there's Brazil, India, China, South Africa. We have more countries that joined that are not in the name,
Mm-hmm.
but basically because they were pushing to the de-dollarization, um,
Okay.
going against the dollar. And
Against the dollar. Okay.
yeah, but also they are pushing a lot of politics, like when China is one of the members, so for censorship or a lot of those stuff against liberty. Um, so it's not like um, BRICS is a good thing, I would say. But
Mm.
Trump is putting tariffs on those countries, and especially the case of Brazil. He sent a letter to the president Lula
Mm-hmm.
saying that he from August 1st he will impose 50% tariffs. That's terrible for the country's economy. But
Just Brazil or all of BRICS? Sorry.
no, this is just Brazil. A
Just Brazil.
specific
Okay.
letter to the president of Brazil.
Okay.
But the conditions of this are interesting. So Brazil would have to stop political persecution against Bolsonaro, which is the right wing leader, and also adopt some free market measures and stop censoring social media. So
Mm.
the conditions will be good for the
That
country.
sounds pretty good.
Yeah, if Lula adopted, I think it's easy to adopt it. Of course, a socialist leader would never want to adopt free market oriented policies or even stop censoring people that talk bad about him. Um, but yeah, that's what we are hoping that Lula is going to do, is to negotiate something, because 50% tariff will create a lot of economic problems,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that are going to pressure this, like people from the Brazilian Wall Street, the Faria Limers. Um, Also, people from the agribusiness will make a lot of pressure. So Lula makes a deal with Trump. So let's see what's going to happen. Lula said that he is now willing to do it for now, but then they are having a lot of discussions. And yeah, let's see also what the other countries from BRICS will say.
Yeah. Excuse me. I just threw up this graph on screen. This shows all of the new tariff letters that just were sent out recently, and as you can see, Brazil is way at the top. Well, I mean, there's still other ones nearby, but like 50% is like that's. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like crippling because there are other trading partners, but yeah, it's significant, and these are all these other ones. A lot of them went up. So it looks like some of them went down a little bit.
Bangladesh went down 2%.
2%. Yeah. Yeah. Down to 35. Woo. But,
2%.
yeah. Do you, Marcel, do you know, like what, I don't know specifically, like what do our countries trade with each other specifically? Do you know any products that we
There's meat. There
need?
everything actually, like
Oh,
metals, meat. I can search it up.
sure. Sure. Yeah. So you're saying agriculture products,
Yeah.
Brazil's an exporter. That makes sense.
Our biggest
Um,
Brazil's biggest trade partner is China.
sure.
So a lot
Yeah.
of people are hoping that China would absorb those things. If they're not
Mm,
trading with the US, China would take it. But
yeah.
I don't know. China is actually worried with their own tariffs. Also,
Mm,
there's Russia that might do something. So it's a dynamics that we are hoping, like what to do, or we don't know what to expect actually.
mm.
What are we to
Sorry.
think?
That just feels like that is the common thread in all of this is not knowing what to expect because I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, okay, I maybe don't like the tariffs or maybe I do, but if we could just have some consistency so we could figure out what's going on because it keeps
Yeah,
changing
that'll be great.
all the time. Feels like whatever, like, depending on how Trump's tummy is doing, that's how generous he is with the tariffs for that day. Like,
Yeah.
kind of exaggeration, but like, that's kind of how it feels. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, yeah, it's like exactly what you said. We're, of course, it's not good like another president imposing tariffs on your country, but at the same time, the strings attached, like we're not gonna get tariffs if you stop political persecution, which is something actually good. I
Yeah.
don't think
Sound
the
good.
Brazilian Congress would do it if there was not like international pressure on this. So we might expect good outcomes or even bad outcomes because Lula is just this terrible
Yeah.
person that is. So Lula is actually imposing a lot of taxes in the Brazilians, and then the media was like, "Yeah, the tax is only for the rich." We know it's not. But then now the Brazilian left that was rooting for the taxes, they were, yeah, Lula's putting taxes on us, more taxes every day. Now they are against taxes from Trump. Like, it's good to see that at least
Yeah, that's
they are more
double
like
standard.
in the economy right now. So that's good to see that
Someone
they're
just
against
commented it.
taxes now.
Yeah. Business. Oh, you want me to read that? It says businesses, regardless of industry, need economic stability to insulate capital risk. Tariffs bring uncertainty. That is absolutely true. Do either of you know how to say that? I don't know if I could say that name of that person, but I appreciate that comment because it's true. Yeah.
Sorry for butchering the name, but
No. That's absolutely right. And it's not only bad for industry, it's bad for freedom because people have less choices. And generally that's kind of a common refrain that you're going to be hearing on this podcast is more choices are better. And generally Oh, I know who that is. Okay. Figured it out. Yeah.
like tariff means uncertainty. It's like saying it's the same thing as like as Brazil had just earlier in April, as like the graph was shown that it was 10% earlier, that now it's 50%. The businesses that like plan their whole year ahead, that okay, we have to pay 10% tariff that way, and they moved on like going on further with the economy and all that. But later on, when they see 50% of tax, like their whole economic plan would need to be changed. So then the product's price will go up. The people who will, yeah, the people who will buy in US also, they will have to suffer because of that, because the products that are solely based from Brazil, they will have to be like sold in a different price. It's also a burden for US, also for the Brazil. It's chaotic, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. For example, if there's a Brazilian company that sells, I don't know, meat to the US, and now there are tariffs, the buyer here in the US will buy from another country, and then they will have a lot of products stopped. And this is less than a month, the warning.
Mm.
So that will cause a lot of instability. And I would make another comment. I just forgot, but then you can go on then when I remember.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, yeah, I don't know if we've talked. I think we've talked about tariffs a little bit, but I just thought I'd take a little bit of a second to just kind of make my own personal and kind of the libertarian argument against tariffs, and you feel free to jump in whenever you want. Basically, you generally hear three arguments for tariffs, no matter the country. Generally, the three arguments are it's going to increase production at home, which is going to keep dollars in our pockets. Two, it's going to raise tax revenue that we can use to spend on projects and things like that. And three, that we can use it to negotiate with other countries and to kind of make them do what we want. And so those are kind of the three things that you've been hearing from President Trump, and you hear from other politicians around the world. Almost every country, if not every country, has tariffs of some sort, and they usually use these three arguments. But I would like to say that kind of all three of them, they can't happen at the same time. They kind of exclude each other. And I I mean, it's a complicated issue, but basically, in short, if you're trying to use tariffs to negotiate, well, you kind of have to be able to take them back. Otherwise, if you don't, then you can't negotiate with them because you're not ever going to take them back. And so then that would get rid of the other two. If you're using tariffs to increase manufacturing overseas, then you're not going to be making more tax revenue because you're making stuff, overseas, in your own country. Then you're not going to be increasing the tax revenue, and you can't use it as negotiating. And then finally, what was the third one? What was the third one? Which ones did I say?
Negotiation.
Negotiate. Yeah. So basically, and again, if you're trying to negotiate, well, either you're pulling them back or you're not. And again, if you're not willing to actually pull them back, then you can't use them as negotiation and you can't get the tax revenue. Again, so anyway, so just logically, you can only have one of three. Can't have all three. And even then, like most of them individually, generally do not work the same way that politicians promise they will. So they don't earn nearly as much money in tax revenue as other kinds of taxes, despite the fact that they cause our prices to go up. They don't. I think Trump's tariffs are projected to add like another like 50 billion this year, which is a lot of money. I probably shouldn't have just pulled that number out of my butt. I probably should have looked that up. But it's roughly not that huge compared to how much money we actually spend. And then negotiating, well, you've seen how that works if you've been paying attention. There's been like practically no good deals. The promise was 90 deals in 90 days. I think we have one or two. And it's just, the reason is because the other countries retaliate with their own tariffs, and then we have tariffs back, and it just makes everybody angry, and they don't want to work things out mutually, and it just doesn't seem to really work out that way for a favorable outcome. And then the idea of bringing manufacturing back to the home country, like that sounds like that would make sense, doesn't usually happen that way because even manufacturing in the US, you still need products. You still need to build things out of other products, and you got to import your materials from other countries, and that just makes it more expensive, and everything just gets more expensive. And so, yeah, that's kind of my quick argument against tariffs. If you had just any other thoughts on, you wanted to add on that, because I kind of rambled for a little bit.
We could mention also Argentina case. We can also mention he's great.
Yeah, there's always great stuff.
He's doing really good deals with President Trump, and also there's something that I found interesting. He's not pulling away from China. He's not cutting ties with China, and he's doing good business with both. Which a lot of people think that if you're doing things with China, Trump will punish you, will impose tariffs. But actually, Argentina case, it says otherwise. It's interesting, the dynamics. Maybe because Milei and Trump are kind of friends, or maybe if we in those days, if you want to avoid tariffs, you should be friends with the United States.
I think tariffs have gone down. I think there's a possibility there could be zero tariffs in Argentina, which that would be awesome for them. That would be, I'm sure Lautaro would be very excited about like Milei negotiating zero tariffs. Like, again, it may not actually happen, but I think that's the last I heard of it. Something like that. It's a very interesting relationship. They're extremely different leaders, and I think it's very clear which one most of us tend to prefer in this, at least in the liberty movement. But it seems like they're somewhat getting along, right? For now.
Yeah, we were talking about how about this cult of personality in the presidential system. Like Canada is one thing, in here in America is one thing, and then how changes in the conservative way are how can I say, slow. And then you're gonna see, we were talking about how slow changes are good, but then if you look at Milei, and he knows what he's doing. He's an economist, and he's doing changes really fast, as a libertarian way, like doing things fast, because he knows what he's doing. He's a very good economist, and his work, it's working. Like, we can see the outcomes. If we see Argentina in the pandemic, it was terrible. It was broke, socialist president. I was living in the border with Argentina, years ago in Brazil, and you would see a lot of Argentinians coming to Brazil, and you would see the difficulties they had under the socialist president. And then when Milei came, it seemed actually impossible to do so much changes in this short time and have great outcomes in also a short time. So we see that a libertarian president, it's the best kind.
It's beautiful. I generally, like, whenever I want like a pick me up from the news, I'd be like, I wonder what's going on in Argentina. Oh yeah, another million kids just left poverty. Yay! Can more people have enough food to eat under libertarianism? It's just it's great.
It's amazing.
Actually,
it's
want
amazing.
to
Yeah.
ask, how's the situation in like Brazil and Argentina? Like, can they trade internally?
It's a good question.
Yeah, they're part of Mercosur, which is a economic bloc. In English, is Mercosur, I guess, with an R, and then, but in Portuguese, we say Mercosur with
How
an.
do like yeah, because I'm asking this because like let's say Argentina doesn't have on import tax, let's say, and then that's a base case scenario. But if they doesn't have any import tax and Brazil can do like business with Argentina, then Brazil can just directly buy from Argentina whatever they get from US, like that kind of economy.
Yeah,
Uh,
if the tariffs go through, Argentina will benefit a lot because they can absorb the lag.
hmm.
And then in the border, as I mentioned, where I lived, my grandma lives there still. You can see Argentinians taking buses, like they fill a bus with people, cross the border, and go to the Brazilian supermarkets to buy stuff. This weekly, they do this weekly because
Oh,
in Brazil
interesting.
it's so cheap because they're the peso, the Brazilian currency, the Argentinian.
Oh, so not in
So
like a good way. Not in like
yeah,
it's
no,
cheap.
yeah, in a good way for Argentinians, and in
Argentina, okay.
a few years ago it was the opposite. Now Milei is doing so great. They're
Oh,
going to the
used to, but now okay, but not anymore.
yeah,
Okay, not anymore. Yeah, because I assume inflation is a lot worse in Brazil right now. That would
yeah.
just be my guess. Yeah. Well, I know this is really fun to talk about, but I would just like to see if we can get move a little bit further. Before we get to the next headline, looks like, did you want to talk a little bit about the Washington Policy Summit last weekend? We have that
Oh
in the
yeah.
doc.
It was a great summit. I could meet a lot of people from different think tanks, not only from SFL. That was a good part. There was people from Cato, from other think tanks, and Pio was there. Pio was just here. He
Nice.
came all the way from
He's
Canada
doing so much.
to go to the summit. I did good videos about it in social media. It is another great opportunity that SFL offers to meet new people, to go to events for free. They pay for you to go to those events in DC, and that was great. You can check on our social media. If they're watching, you can check on our social media the videos and stuff about it, about the events in DC.
Yeah, there's a cool video. So that was mostly like what you call it? So were you like discussing like ideas for policy changes, or what was kind of the structure? Was it like mostly
Um,
conferences or?
yeah, it was kind of. We had an entire day of lectures about tariffs. About there was one really interesting about how should we regulate and approach the regulations towards AI. So that generated a lot
Mm.
of discussion, a lot of new ideas. So from experts that work on that study that the whole day. So they go there and give us a lecture and let us talk about it and discuss it. It's good to learn and also come up with new ideas. So the entire day,
Yeah.
um, not only lectures but networking discussions. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to do a little bit plug. If you're watching this right now and you are not a Students for Liberty local coordinator, but you're watching this, you should sign up to be a local coordinator because you could have the chance to go on trips like this. You could potentially have the chance to get a free flight paid for to Washington, D.C. and attend some of these fun events. So definitely and the other opportunities like that, lots of good training and stuff like that, definitely sign up to be a Students for Liberty local coordinator. The link is in our bio if you are not already. But yeah, so thank you so much for plugging that and talking a little about that, Marcella. Just because we got a few more things to talk about, I'll just pull up the next thing, which is, let me just pull up this tweet. This is from a few days ago. This was almost a week ago. Yeah, almost a full week ago. But we've been the news has been kind of talking about this over the course of the week. Elon Musk, well, I don't even need to introduce him. Everyone knows Elon Musk, the richest man on earth, had a big thing with Doge, left that in a confrontation with Trump, has proposed, he's basically creating a new political party. I'll just read for audio listeners. Basically, he's got this first tweet that was, I think, July 4th. It says, Independence Day was the perfect time to ask if you want independence from the two-party, some would say uniparty system. Should we create the America Party? And then there's a poll you can't really see on the screen. But then there's a quote tweet that says, by a factor of 2-to-1, you want a new political party and you shall have it. When it comes to bankrupting our country with waste and graft, we live in a one-party system, not a democracy. Today, the America Party is formed to give you back your freedom. This is very interesting, to say the least. I really want to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this. Despite not being American citizens, I still want to hear. It's very interesting to hear what your takes are on this America Party.
I wonder if he knows about the Libertarian Party. Like, what did he think about it?
I think it's so funny to me that, like, does he know, like, that there already is basically a political party that already exists? But
Yeah.
it's so basically, I was doing a little bit of reading more about they've already, like, Elon does things so fast. They've already got, like, they got an account for it, they got a website, they're setting up stuff with that, and basically it's, again, like you said, it's basically the Libertarian Party with just a little bit of right-wing populism thrown in. So trying to appeal a little bit more to Republicans who maybe are unsatisfied with where the MAGA movement is headed, so who still want strong immigration restrictions, still maybe want some of the culture war stuff, but are angry about just the absolute irresponsibility with the federal budget and spending and how out of control it is. What do you guys think? Do you think this party has any kind of chance to move the needle at all?
It would be hard, I guess. From my perspective, whatever I heard, like in America, there has been several attempts to be the third party. Earlier also, I think it was at least more than 10 years that third party that tried to be a opposition, but I don't think that has happened because you guys have a different voting system than most of the world.
Where you said sorry, I didn't quite catch it. Did you say Bangladesh does have more than two parties, or are you a two-party?
We also have three parties. Yeah, we have three parties, but major are two parties because
major two.
And there are some left aligned people, but they don't have a formal party as per se, but the students in every university or colleges, they have a separate section or some type of community that supports the left. But in Bangladesh, we don't have a particularly left political.
Okay.
But in America, I was saying about America, like, you guys all the time, all this year, all have known is there is only two party, but any time their attempt to be a third party, they get lost because of the voting system or the
interesting.
Yeah,
that is interesting. I'm just going to read this comment from one of our listeners who said it's easier for him to learn how to run a party by starting a new one rather than trying to take over the LP. Also, there was an anti-gun post by Elon with the America Party. I'll find the link. That's an interesting take. I just want to add, for those of you who aren't American or not quite as familiar with the American political party system, the last time a third party had any kind of, like, I don't know what you call it, traction at all was in 1992, before I was born. But it was the Bill Clinton versus George H.W. Bush. Both of them, I think historians would say, were very weak candidates. Were not super likable, either one. H.W. Bush was the vice president of Reagan, who was super popular, but Bush was just kind of just way less, charismatic, and no one really knew that much about Clinton at that point. However, there was a third party called named Ross Perot, and he actually got a ton of votes by, guess what, focusing on fiscal responsibility and balancing the budget and inflation. He got almost 20 million votes. That was almost 19% of all Americans voted for a third party, which a lot of people say basically essentially spoiled the election for Bush and essentially gave it to Clinton. So that kind of sounds crazy today in 2025 that a third party could get 20 million votes. But it has happened, and it definitely altered the election by a lot. So it's possible it could happen again. Maybe even win. Maybe. Possible. Probably not. But
Elon is very determined to make it happen, and he has every resource to do it. So
yes.
Let's see. I mean, I didn't know there was history about it, and it's good that you mentioned, because now it makes it more possible in my mind, at least.
That's what I was talking about, like the third party system that you just mentioned. Like I was also talking about okay. He was commenting something else.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing is, I was talking about the particular thing that Elon is opening a new political system with a friend, and he was saying, okay, Elon won't get votes at least in the next two, he won't win for the next two elections, that's for sure. And he's just doing it because he wants some of the votes from Republican Party, because
he's angry. I think you're onto something. I think he's angry at the way he was treated, and he was like, you know what? I could maybe ruin Trump's chances if I took away enough votes with the American Party.
He's just saying that he's just targeting some portion of the votes that Republican Party will get, because he has other things also.
Yeah, I just gotta say, as the American here, obviously I'm not gonna endorse or say anything bad or good about any political party, but I am very interested in a third party that could actually move the needle, even if it's not the Libertarian Party. I've been kind of very strong on being consistent to beliefs, but it would be cool to actually see something. We just got another comment from Libertarianism Now. Polling show that Pro actually took more voters away from Clinton, not Bush. Thank you so much. That's really interesting. And I just threw up that screenshot from Wikipedia that just showed. That's really interesting. So it wasn't enough for Bush to win, but it looks like it was saying that Perot actually helped Bush, at least according to this commenter, Libertarianism Now. So anyway, very, very interesting, and very, again, someone's finally acknowledging with some power that yes, our spending crisis is a crisis, and if it seems like it's going to blow up any year now, and at least somebody with some with a platform is saying it, which is good to hear. Whether their values line up perfectly with libertarian or my personal values is a whole other matter. But it's we have another comment that says the consistent position for most libertarians is wanting more parties and more competition. Yes, may the market of ideas choose the winner. Yes, I would definitely personally agree with that. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
One
of course.
problem with that, it's good to have more competition, more options. One problem with that, at least in Brazil or Latin America, as I see, is that corruption. So a lot of parties take public money to run their candidates. And there's, for example, in Brazil, there's 33 parties. The number might increase since the last elections. But then, can you imagine 33 parties taking public money to put in their candidates, their campaigns? So in some systems, that is very bad. But of course, in America, if we would have that, we could not have public money going into parties. So that would be good, actually. But in some
Yeah.
countries, that doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really interesting stuff going on. I don't, yeah, just, I wanted to see if I had that news article that was talking about it. But again, I also want to say, it does seem like he is getting some traction from people, even on the right, that I was not expecting. Again, America has traditionally like had a very hard time with third parties going anywhere. You know, like the Libertarian Party, as sad as it makes me, got like 2/3 of a million votes, not even a million votes last year. But like I mean, like the post that Elon made like went kind of viral and got like a ton of views and a ton of traction, and like seems like this maybe what America needs. Not an endorsement, but possibly what America needs is kind of like something else that kind of has liberty focused values, but isn't necessarily the Libertarian Party as we know it. Possibly.
Also, I want to see how like which companies or which uh, like companies, as in which entities give Elon Musk for
True.
his campaign, actually, because third party is a gamble, and in the party who will
Yes.
engage in the election, they won't want to like invest on a party who is kind of relatively new and like has a more chance to lose than win. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of a big thing to go on that route. So I want to see how,
Yeah.
because obviously he
Yeah.
has money, but I don't think he will spend all of his money on just to get a piece of someone. So
Yeah. That's a very interesting point. You got to look who's supporting it and who's going to want to be brave enough to do that, but also, you know, are there any conflict of interests? Are there any shady things going on with donating? One thing that I've always thought was kind of odd and something I genuinely have not understood is why almost every billionaire has generally seemed to donate to Democrat platforms. That's something, again, maybe it's something I need to do more research on, because it does seem like kind of against their own interests to be voting for the party that seems to be anti-billionaire. And so now I don't know, we could maybe, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or whether it's possible maybe that's because the Democrat Party is able to offer more benefits to the wealthy class, like secretly, that maybe regular people like us are not aware of. But that's something that I've always thought was very interesting, that like besides Elon Musk, like there's like it's almost always been the wealthiest people in America have almost always donated to the Democrat Party. So I don't know. Is there like a counterpart to that in your countries, Marcel and Debo, with billionaire or rich people donating to parties and
Yeah,
like affecting things?
we have even Soros donating for Brazilian
Yes.
Socialist Party.
Oh, George Soros?
Yeah,
Oh, I know that guy. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy. Like they fund billionaires here, even fund the socialist parties in Latin America. That is crazy.
I don't understand why.
I guess they get a lot of influence and control over politics if they just
Yeah, I guess.
but
maybe
it's just like something evil to
Yeah.
fund socialist parties in poor countries that are already like
Yeah. It's
it's
so
crazy.
sad. Yeah, one thing it's possible, I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now, is maybe they don't actually think that, like maybe they don't actually think that maybe they think if they're donating, then they'll be kind of exempt from some of the socialist stuff. Like, oh, if I support them, then they'll kind of cut me a break. You know, they'll support me because I support them. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know. What do you think, Debo?
In Bangladesh perspective, okay, I don't know if you guys know it or not. Bangladesh is a socialist country. In the constitution, it's written that Bangladesh is a socialist
Yeah.
country, and there is much of like government has much influence in Bangladesh in all sectors, but they rely solely for the economy on capitalist ideas and ideologies. Like they would promote entrepreneurship, they would promote this and that, like more business, but due to the situation of the what the market or the around the environment, the entrepreneurship environment is not growing. That's the sole reason. And in the political system that we are talking about, that if the government or the entities or the billionaires pay to the government elections, I don't think that's legal in Bangladesh, as far as I know. I might be wrong, but
Okay.
legal. Like no parties can directly give money to a political party because they think that that would uh, influence the political party for or in favorism of that particular donation or donor. So it's kind of a odd thing in Bangladesh. But in USA, it's open that you guys can donate. The billionaires can donate to the political parties. In Bangladesh, I don't think it's normal as it is in other countries.
Okay.
But do you think it's okay? Like, let's say
Like,
I'm a
we mean
billionaire,
okay.
like I'm a billionaire and I'm paying a political party for his vote because
Ooh. I
like
mean,
common just it's a general question, like from a commoner's perspective. We
yeah.
are specialized in anything, but we are just expressing
Yeah.
our, so just
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah,
think?
it's like I actually see it both ways from the perspective like should that be allowed, because like on the other hand, it kind of yeah, okay, so we have a comment that says isn't money speech though? So is it a form of freedom of speech? But also like corruption, bribery, government, there's like kind of reeks of bribery a little bit of like kind of using power unfairly in a non-democratic way, and non I don't know, I can kind of see it both ways honestly. Like I see like, you know, is it the government taking advantage of its power um, to violate rights, or is it, you know, is using your
Even
money freedom of speech? I don't know. What do you think?
most of the people or the billion, sorry Marcella, just this little thing, like pharmaceutical companies pay the most, I think, as far as I
Okay.
know, uh, to the political parties in US. So they say the party who gives most money to the party and that party wins. And later on,
Mm,
let's say a drug that is not passed in all of the aspects, let's say some 60 or 80% they passed in some of the cases and they didn't pass the later 20. And what do you think that will happen? Because that party paid the party to win, like that donor or
mm.
that donor paid the party to win. So obviously they will favor the policy around that, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, that definitely does seem to happen. I just okay. So we normally try to stay under an hour. We're a little bit over an hour. Are you okay if we go over a little bit? Do you guys have anywhere you need to be right now?
No, I can. No.
We can be a little bit longer. Okay, I didn't know whether we typically not try not to go too much over an hour, but we're having so much fun talking about it, and I really love hearing your guys' opinions on and your perspective on this stuff. I did pull up this screenshot from where did I find this numbers Gillett Morris, where I was reading this article about like how big could the amount of voters for the American Party actually be, and they kind of use some data, and it's obviously got some flaws, or they don't have all the, you know, updated data. They don't have, but I think this might be an estimation, and from this chart it doesn't look good. So basically, I'll just explain. I did read the article yesterday. They took, okay, this is 100% top is all voters. You can't see my mouse, but whatever. Then you go down, you remove partisans. So you remove people who are extremely Republican, who call themselves extremely Republican or extremely Democrat. So you remove those and that's already, you're down to 32.5%. Those are basically people who call themselves independents or aren't extremely Democrat Republican. Then you remove the people who are pro-Trump. So the American Party is mostly going to appeal to people who don't like Trump, and, that's why they go for a third option. Now you're down to 18.5%. Then you remove people who say in polls that they're pro-spending and want more government spending. Now we're down to, what is this, like very small... I can't even see the percentage. Are we like down to like just a few percentages now? And then finally remove anti-Musk, people who don't like Musk, and you just got this tiny sliver. So what is it? Here, let me take away the comments. Yeah, does it even say, what would it be, like 16%? Is that the right amount? Or, oh no, remaining voters is purple. So yeah, it doesn't even show it because it's so small. According to this perspective, according to this. So, okay, I see it. Musk is left with 0.75% of registered voters, according to these surveys. That doesn't look so nearly as good as some of the numbers we were talking about earlier, at least how it looked from Twitter X. So...
yeah, it would take time, as Debo mentioned, maybe 2-3 elections, so we can have something relevant from that party. But I believe in the meantime, Musk will be working on that. So we might see like people actually
change their minds.
That might be good, or
And they did say this is data from a few years ago, and the 2028 election would be in a few years, so things would change. Also, I think that my perspective is I can see inflation getting a lot worse the next 3 years. Average voter vibes. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is just too pessimist for me, but the way things are going, I'm predicting that inflation, it doesn't look good for inflation. So in the next 3 years, if inflation's a lot worse and average voters, that's an if, but if average voters are educated on where inflation is coming from, it's coming from government spending, then maybe attitudes can change even more if inflation continues to get worse. Not like it really seems like it's, I don't know. I'm not going to get too much into that, but yeah. And then maybe over the course of the next few elections, I don't know. I guess the point is we don't really know.
Yeah. A lot can happen between the next election and this. So we don't know how the narrative will change. Everything basing on narrative. Everyone is hooked to social media. Everyone is hooked to internet. So how the narrative gets changed, that's the whole voting counts as.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're hoping for, is that we can make a difference with social media and use social media to change people's mind and educate people on these difficult concepts so they can make better decisions for their lives. I think that's something we all think is a good thing.
Yeah, that's what also Students for Liberty's motto also. Short of liberty, educate, empower, and develop. So come join us.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, again, said it before, but if you're not local coordinator at Students for Liberty, please sign up. We'd love to have you, and we'd love to get to know you and give you the tools to whatever project you're passionate about in regards to Liberty.
Yeah, and our applications are free and open for a limited time.
Yeah. Do you remember when it closed? It closes. Was it August 12th?
Yeah, but
something like that. Yeah, I think around then, and then that's when we'll be ending the application. So definitely want to sign up. Well, are there any other news headlines that we didn't talk about today that you guys wanted to bring up?
I don't think so. For my part.
Yeah, it was kind of concentrated on these few things. There was a couple other major news things that happened, but not so much focused on politics per se, which is kind of our niche. There's, the tragic floods in Texas. I don't know if you heard about. I mean, don't really have much of a comment on that other than that it's sad, and I wish it didn't happen. And really, I mean, not really a political thing. So, well, I think that's probably going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you missed the beginning, the full episode is going to be going up either today or tomorrow, depending on, hopefully today, on YouTube and Spotify. Yeah. All right. I'll let you guys say goodbye as well.
Thank you, guys. See you next week, next episode.
All right.
Thanks for the commenters also, because
Oh
they
yes,
gave
we appreciate putting on the
Josh,
comments.
Josh
That was
did
fun.
Commenting a lot, right? Thanks, Josh, for your participation.